I'm an arts administrator, and this is my intern, Corbin. Corbin is an artist. Corbin and I have something in common. We share a drive to create. We feel compelled to take risks. We make a lot of mistakes, but we have grit and we persevere to build culture in the city. Some people call us cultural entrepreneurs. This is our city, Indianapolis. Yesterday's leaders built a strong and beautiful downtown core. In fact, we have a great revitalization story. But there's another side to Indianapolis. This slide tells the story of the broken neighborhoods that surround the downtown core. Every dot on this map is an abandoned property, and every dot has an effect on public safety, on education, on social justice, on our tax base, and yes, the cultural health of our city. So I lead the Herron Center for the Arts, and using the principles of cultural entrepreneurship, we strengthen the fabric of these neighborhoods. Located in a 65,000 square foot historic church building, we push the energy of the arts outside our four walls, engaging neighbors in the urban core. Not just an art center, we're somewhat of a cultural development corporation. We look into the community, we see a problem, and we come up with a distinctively cultural solution. Very much a neighborhood endeavor. We started 10 years ago with a grassroots business plan. It was a hey and a hook. Hey, let's open a gallery, and let's design it to attract emerging patrons, regular people that like art but are intimidated by the art scene. And the hook? Let's open up every extra room in the building and charge $100, regardless of size, shape, or smell. And some of them do smell. So every room became a studio, the old choir rehearsal room, the old boiler room, and many, many more. And with prices that low, emerging artists quickly filled the studios. Admittedly, a slightly quirky bunch, but all very talented and passionate. And scores of emerging patrons came, every age, race, and education level. And with multiple venues, eventually 4 galleries and studios serving 36 artists, we were never boring and never stuffy. Surprises were around every corner, site-specific installations and performances, making multiple connections and evoking all the senses. Our openings had become the craft of community, and I was feeling pretty good. But then, my artists started coming to me and saying they needed to leave Indianapolis. They needed to move to larger cities where there were real art patrons, not those emerging patrons Joanna's been talking about. I didn't know what to do. I knew that many were buying their first piece of art at our openings, and I knew that our sales were growing, but it wasn't enough. It was clear Indianapolis needed a new generation of art patrons. Our community wanted answers, and in order to keep our talented artists, I knew I needed to act fast. About the same time, our neighborhood had a crisis. 3 newly abandoned buildings adjacent to the Herron Center. Using the principles of cultural entrepreneurship, we saw this community need as an opportunity to honor the art and education legacy of that site. And so we decided to start a school, not just any school, but a high school designed to grow art patrons. So what is an art patron? An art patron is that well-rounded citizen that is naturally engaged in the arts. There are doctors and moms, our artists, our teachers, our volunteers, our voters, our philanthropists, and our community leaders. They're what every city needs to be healthy. And so we crafted the curriculum around an art history timeline, and we intentionally designed the school to be diverse, racially and socioeconomically. In 9th grade, we started with the study of ancient Africa and Asia, and 10th grade was Greece and Rome, and 11th grade was the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and 12th grade was the age of exploration up to modern times. We also required 4 years of Latin, English, math, and science. The idea was that students would not learn facts in isolation, but they'd see how art and science developed in tandem, and how political movements and cultural movements go hand in hand. It was a classical liberal arts education meets best practices, informed by brain research, and led by exceptional educators. I'm not one of those. We acquired the historic property, and we started in 2006 with 99 freshmen. And in 2010, we graduated our inaugural class, pictured here. The energy invested into those students was wonderful because it produced results of 100% of these kids going on to college. And not only that, but we were listed on Newsweek's magazine's America's Best Schools list. Quite a surprise for us. Too many accomplishments to read here, but all very astounding. And so with all these all these talented students across the street, and if they really were going to be the new art patrons that we would need to grow a new generation and to be the leaders of our cities, we wanted to begin more programs to help them. And so we decided to start an internship program for high school and college students. So this is called the Cultural Entrepreneur Education Initiative. A cultural entrepreneur sees a need, takes a risk, leverages resources, invests energy, and networks to build culture in the city. Here's some examples of the projects. One intern came to me and said he wanted to build giant puppets. He said, Indianapolis needs a spectacle of wonder. I remember him taking the puppets downtown and people streaming out of their office buildings. And sure, the media came, but the best thing that happened that day, it made people really happy they lived in Indianapolis. This intern was passionate about food and art, and so we decided that if gamers could have Gen Con, why couldn't foodies have Food Con? And so we created an unconventional food convention, and she ran it, and 2,000 people came. It's now in its third year. Joy was 16 when she was put in charge of running a full-day music and art festival. 12 bands, 2 stages, continuous music all day long. It was a success for the community. 7,000 people came, and it was a success for her personally because it gave her a great scholarship to college. Elizabeth had 2 projects. She was one of our inaugural students and worked with us for quite a while. She planned a place-based gallery exhibit celebrating neighborhoods, and she planned a neighborhood resource fair. The impact of her project was so great that other interns took it and grew it, and eventually it became the City Gallery, Indy's Urban Living Center, which opened in 2011. Here's the City Gallery today. It's become a key resource for connecting people to culture, community, and place in Indianapolis. Being a cultural entrepreneur seems pretty sweet, right? But it comes with a lot of bumps and bruises. Susanna fell many times when getting this first levitation photo right. But we teach our interns it's okay to fall. It's okay to make mistakes. This is how we learn. Here are my 3 takeaways from starting the high school. Number 1, assess your risks. The high school was successful because it was fundable, it was sustainable, and it was something the community would be passionate about. My 3 tests for a good project. Number 2, it's okay to be scared. I spent a year and a half scared to the core of my being. Trust me. Learn to work through fear. Number 3, don't give up. The high school opened its doors not because we were smarter than anyone else in this room. The high school opened because someone had an idea and didn't give up. Our grassroots projects have been very successful. And it's just me and a bunch of little kids running around. But when I look into this room and I think about what can we do together, I know it can be something amazing. But where do we start? First, find your place. Second, inspire someone. And then together, let's create a movement of cultural entrepreneurs who are rebuilding the fabric of our neighborhood and our city. Thank you.